Before man painted the god, he wore the face. A hand reaches toward a carved covering. Bone, hide, bark, fiber, shell, feather, pigment, something gathered from the living world and given a second life. The object is not large. It does not need to be. It waits in the dark of a shelter or near the edge of a ritual fire, still as an animal pretending not to breathe. Then someone lifts it. The human face disappears. That is the beginning. The eyes remain, but they have been moved behind another presence. The mouth that speaks is no longer only the mouth of the man beneath it. The body is still human, with knees that ache and hands that can tremble, but the face has crossed a border. It has become animal, ancestor, spirit, demon, god, dead one, hunter, judge, mother, stranger. The mask does not decorate the person, it interrupts him. That interruption is sacred. Modern people often treat masks as costume, party goods, theatre props, a child's plastic monster face hanging under fluorescent lights in October. There is nothing wrong with play, though modern commerce has a gift for making even terror feel like it came with a coupon. Yet the ancient mask belongs to a much older order of experience. It was not made to amuse the crowd. It was made to change the terms of presence. The person wearing the mask is still there. He is also hidden. Something else has arrived. In sacred art, the mask is one of the earliest and strangest solutions to a permanent human problem. How does the invisible become visible without becoming ordinary? The cave wall answers with image. The figurine answers with touch. The burial object answers with memory. The mask answers with transformation. It takes the living face, the most personal surface of the human body, and covers it with another identity. This is severe art. It asks the wearer to surrender the ordinary face. It asks the viewer to accept that the person before him is now more than himself. The mask does not simply show a spirit. It allows a body to carry one. That is why episode 6 belongs here, after the Venus figurines and before the first burial goods. The small figure gave sacred form to the body. The mask gives sacred form to the face by concealing it. It is the first great art of becoming. The central question is simple. Why would early human beings hide the face in order to reveal the sacred? The answer begins with the face itself. The face is the part of the body most closely tied to identity. We know a person by his face before we know his argument, his ancestry, or his favorite little heresies. The face announces recognition. It says, "This one is mother, brother, rival, elder, stranger." It carries grief before words arrive. It betrays fear. It asks for mercy. It lies badly when the soul is under pressure. To cover the face is to disturb recognition. That disturbance has power. A mask breaks the ordinary social contract. The wearer is no longer entirely available as a familiar person. The viewer cannot fully read him. The face, which usually offers access, becomes a threshold. The human body remains visible, yet the human person recedes. This retreat creates room for a sacred presence. The mask says that the ordinary face is too narrow for the event. A rite of passage, a dance of the hunt, a mourning ceremony, an encounter with the dead, a seasonal rite of return. These things demand a face larger than the individual. The mask supplies it. Picture the scene at night. A small group gathers near firelight. The flames do what flames have always done. They make certainty flicker. Shadows climb the body of the masked figure. Pigment shines and vanishes. The eyes behind the mask catch a small glint, then disappear. A voice begins, perhaps lower than usual. A movement follows, slow at first, then sharper. The people watching know the wearer's name. They also know, for the duration of the rite, that the name is insufficient. This is the sacred function of the mask. It holds two truths in tension. The wearer remains human. The wearer becomes a vessel. The mask does not erase the person beneath it. It subordinates him to a form older, larger, and more dangerous than personality. That is why masks so often appear in rites tied to ancestors, animals, death, fertility, initiation, and seasonal return. The mask creates a body for forces that do not have ordinary bodies. The earliest physical masks known to archaeology do not take us all the way back to the first human impulse to mask the face. Perishable materials decay, hide rots, bark splits, fiber vanishes. A mask can disappear from the earth while the practice that made it once shaped entire worlds. Archaeology often leaves us holding the stone after the song has gone silent. Still, the surviving evidence points toward a long human fascination with altered faces. Prehistoric cave images show figures that appear partly human and partly animal. Some may represent ritual specialists wearing animal coverings. Some may be mythic beings. Some may be visions experienced in altered states. Care is needed here. A single painted figure should not be forced into a modern theory like a large man into a cheap waistcoat. Yet the pattern matters. Human beings imagined, painted, and likely enacted states in which the boundary between man and animal became unstable. The mask made that instability visible. It allowed the hunter to approach the animal's power. It allowed the mourner to face the dead through another face. It allowed the community to encounter a being whose authority did not depend on ordinary speech. The mask is the art of the threshold. Consider what a mask does to the body. It changes posture. A heavy mask forces the neck to submit. A tall mask makes the wearer move with care. A mask with narrow eye openings restricts sight, which makes each step deliberate. A mask with animal features changes the rhythm of the head. The wearer begins to move according to the face he bears. This is important. The mask is not a picture placed in front of the body. It disciplines the body from above. A carved snout pulls the head forward. Horns widen the wearer's imagined space. A fixed mouth freezes expression. Large eyes stare without blinking. The living body must adjust itself to the authority of the artificial face. In that adjustment, ritual begins. The mask trains the wearer away from his ordinary habits. He cannot smirk, flirt, grimace, or explain himself with the usual little tricks of the face. The mask has no patience for his social conveniences. It gives him one expression and commands the rest of the body to serve it. This is one reason masks are so powerful. The human face is a gossip factory. Cover it, and suddenly the body has to stop chattering through eyebrows. The sacred mask can also invert ordinary rank. A young man may become an ancestral presence. A marginal figure may become the mouth of judgment. A ritual specialist may become the animal whose power the group seeks. The mask does not merely represent status. It grants temporary authority through form. This is one of the deep links between art and social order. In ordinary life, authority often depends on age, kinship, skill, or force. In ritual life, authority can descend through the object. The mask chooses the face, or at least appears to. Once worn, it gives the body beneath it a borrowed majesty. The community accepts the bargain because the mask belongs to a shared sacred order. This is why masks must be handled carefully. A mask used in rite is rarely neutral property. It may need to be stored away from casual sight. It may belong to a lineage, a guild, a clan, or a priestly role. It may be forbidden to the uninitiated. Sacred art often begins where access is controlled. Modern people tend to dislike restricted access until they create a museum archive and call it preservation. Then everyone becomes solemn, wears gloves, and rediscovers hierarchy with better lighting. The mask's power also depends on concealment. A sacred object shown constantly becomes familiar. Familiarity can weaken awe. The mask, kept hidden and revealed at the right moment, gathers force from absence. When it appears, it carries the weight of all the time in which it was unseen. This matters for ritual time. Ordinary time flows through chores, hunger, weather, and sleep. Ritual time interrupts that flow. It opens a charged interval in which the dead may be near, the animal may be addressed, the child may become an adult, or the community may renew its bond with the unseen. The mask belongs to that interval. It is brought forth because the moment has changed. A mask worn at the wrong time becomes costume. A mask worn at the right time becomes presence. The difference is not material, it is ritual order. When the mask appears, the face beneath it is sacrificed. That word should be allowed its weight. The wearer gives up his ordinary recognizability. He surrenders the face by which others know him. He enters the rite as a person who has accepted concealment. Every sacred mask contains this little offering. The human face with its ordinary claims steps back. Another face comes forward. The community sees the withdrawal and understands that something serious is happening. The wearer has not stopped being human. He has placed his humanity under form. This is why the mask belongs to the larger history of sacred art. Sacred art does not simply make things pretty, it orders relation. It teaches the body how to stand before what it fears, desires, and serves. The mask teaches the body how to become a bearer of presence. The mask also reveals a deep principle of religious aesthetics. The sacred is often shown through partial concealment. An unveiled thing can become ordinary quickly. A hidden thing can become terrifying through imagination alone. The mask stands between these extremes. It reveals by hiding. It gives a form, but that form blocks direct access to the person beneath it. The viewer sees more and less at once. That tension creates awe. Later religious traditions will use this same logic in refined ways. A sanctuary veil conceals the holy place. A priestly garment covers the ordinary body. A crown transforms a mortal ruler into an image of order. A funeral shroud hides the face of the dead while making death more present. Each case has its own theology. yet the pattern is recognizable. The sacred does not always become visible by being uncovered. Sometimes it becomes visible by being veiled. The mask is the face as veil. This idea should not be softened too much. Masks can be frightening. They should be. A sacred mask that cannot frighten has probably been domesticated into folkcraft or gift shop cheer. The ancient mask approaches the viewer with an authority that exceeds charm. A fixed face is disturbing because it refuses response. The human face moves, it adapts, it signals peace or anger. The masked face remains the same. It does not reassure the viewer by reacting. It stares, snarls, grins, or gazes with a stillness that belongs more to the dead than to the living. This is where masks approach death. The corpse has a face that no longer answers. The mask has a face that never answered in the first place. Between the two lies a whole region of sacred dread. The mask can make the living resemble the dead. It can make the dead seem present among the living. It can give the community a controlled encounter with what would otherwise be unbearable. A child watches from behind an elder. The masked figure turns. No ordinary smile appears. No wink breaks the tension. The face remains fixed, and because it remains fixed, the child learns that some presences cannot be negotiated with. They can be approached only through rite. This is religious education without a textbook. The body feels before the mind explains. The knees know before the lecture begins. Sacred art works at that level. The mask trains perception through controlled fear. A civilization that cannot do this loses something serious. It becomes sentimental about danger, then shocked when danger refuses to become sentimental in return. The animal mask carries its own special force. In early societies shaped by hunting, the animal was never mere material. It was food, threat, rival, sign, and teacher. To wear an animal face was to cross toward the creature's power. The hunter might seek sympathy with the animal. The ritual specialist might embody the animal spirit. The community might remember its dependence on the creature it pursued. The mask allowed man to enter a relation that ordinary human form could not bear. A human face says, "I am man." An animal mask says, "I stand at the border." That border is religious. The hunted creature comes from beyond human command. Its body sustains the group, but its life cannot be reduced to human need. The mask can mark gratitude, fear, and desire in one charged form. It gives the hunter a way to acknowledge that killing and reverence can occupy the same ritual world. Modern people often want ancient religion to choose between brutality and tenderness. The ancient world usually refuses. It knows that survival is bloody and wonder is still possible. The mask may also give shape to the ancestor. An ancestor is absent and present at the same time. The dead no longer sit by the fire in ordinary form, yet their power remains in memory, land, kinship, and law. A mask can make that presence visible. When worn, it allows the ancestor to enter the social field again. The wearer does not become a theatrical actor pretending to be great-grandfather with all the embarrassment that would deserve. In a ritual context, the mask may permit the ancestor's authority to appear. The person beneath it becomes the bearer of a relation between the living and the dead. This is one reason ancestral masks across later cultures often carry solemn force. They do not merely memorialize, they mediate. They allow the dead to have a face without returning as a corpse. The distinction is delicate. The mask gives death a form the living can meet. In this sense, the mask belongs to the first technologies of sacred mediation. A mediator stands between two orders of being. The mask stands between the human and the non-human, the living and the dead, the ordinary and the holy. It allows contact without collapse. The wearer does not dissolve entirely into the spirit. The viewer does not meet invisible power without form. The mask holds the line. Good sacred art often does this. It does not abolish distance. It shapes distance so contact becomes possible. A cave painting gives the animal presence without releasing the animal into the chamber. A figurine gives abundance form without forcing birth into explanation. A mask gives the spirit a face without making the spirit ordinary. Each form creates a disciplined approach to mystery. The mask may be the most dangerous of these because it uses the living body. Stone can sit still. A painted wall cannot suddenly step toward you. A masked body can move, speak, breathe, and touch. The sacred is no longer only seen, it advances. This brings us to performance. The mask is incomplete on the ground. It waits for the body. Its full meaning appears when worn. That means sacred art here is inseparable from action. The object, the wearer, the movement, and the gathered community form one event. This is why masks belong to the history of ritual as much as the history of image. A mask on display in a museum may be beautiful. It may show craft, form, age, and symbolic structure. Yet the museum view can flatten it. The mask is severed from the footfall, the chant, the dust, the breath behind the mouth opening. It becomes a face with no body. Something of its original power goes silent. The museum saves the mask by stilling it. That is the bargain, and it is not a small one. A ritual mask behind glass is a little like a lion in a tax office. One admires the outline, but suspects the proper arrangement has been lost. To understand the mask, one must restore movement in the mind. The masked figure enters. People shift. Silence gathers. The head turns at a pace slower than ordinary life. The fixed face catches firelight. A hand lifts. The body bends or stamps. A voice comes through the mask, changed by the hollow interior. Sound itself may become altered, thickened, narrowed, made strange. The mask is a small architecture for the voice. It can muffle speech. It can deepen resonance. It can make the speaker less identifiable. The sound no longer belongs plainly to the man beneath it. It seems to come from the face or from somewhere behind it. That acoustic change matters. Sacred presence often arrives through altered sound as much as altered sight. A mask changes the mouth. That means it changes speech. There is another layer. The mask separates the wearer from responsibility in a controlled way. Ordinary speech belongs to the speaker. Masked speech may belong to the role. The masked figure can command, accuse, bless, frighten, or instruct with an authority that would be unbearable if it came from an ordinary neighbor. The mask protects the person beneath it by making the role primary. This can serve the community. Difficult truths can be spoken through the sacred face. Social order can be corrected without reducing the correction to personal quarrel. The mask carries judgment because it appears to come from beyond one man's preference. This is one reason ritualized societies invest so much in form. Form allows hard speech to be received. Without form, judgment becomes insult. With sacred form, judgment can become purification. The modern world has tried to abolish ritual authority and replace it with comment sections. The results have been about as dignified as a raccoon in a baptismal font. Yet the mask has a dark side. Every sacred form can be abused because form carries power. A mask can dignify fraud. It can hide cruelty. It can turn manipulation into mystery. It can frighten the weak into obedience. Once a human being speaks from behind a sacred face, the temptation to use that face for private desire is never far away. This is not a modern discovery. Ancient communities knew the danger. That is why masks are often governed by rules. The right person must wear them. The right season must call them forth. The right words must accompany them. Sacred power without order becomes theatre for appetite. The mask requires discipline because it produces distance between person and act. That distance can sanctify. It can also corrupt. Here we find one of the central tensions of religious aesthetics. The sacred needs form. Human beings cannot live on invisible meaning alone. Yet form can be seized, the image can become idol. The priestly garment can become vanity, the mask can become deception. Sacred art always lives under this danger because it deals with visible power. The answer is not to abolish form. That is the thin solution of people who fear the weight of matter. The answer is to bind form to right, memory, and truth. The mask must belong to a world that knows what it is doing. When the mask is cut loose from that world, it may survive as art, entertainment, fashion, or nightmare. It can still amaze, it may still inspire, yet its original authority has changed. The living circuit has been broken. This broken circuit is part of the mask's afterlife. The mask travels into theatre. It becomes the face of tragedy and comedy in ancient performance. It enters court ceremony, festival, mourning, carnival, and drama. It survives in religious rite across the world. It reappears in modern horror because horror remembers what respectable culture forgets. A covered face is never merely covered. The masked killer in cinema terrifies because he has no negotiable human expression. The superhero mask fascinates because it lets an ordinary man become a symbol. The digital avatar seduces because it offers a face without the burden of the given body. In each case, the old logic remains. The face is hidden so another identity can appear. Modernity did not escape the mask. It multiplied masks and forgot the rites that once disciplined them. That is why masks now appear everywhere, yet often without sacred order. Online, a person can speak from behind a chosen face and feel released from ordinary accountability. The ancient mask subordinated the wearer to ritual form. The modern mask often flatters the wearer's appetite. That is a poor exchange, though the machine keeps whirring like a little iron cricket. Still, the old sacred power has not disappeared. We feel it when a ceremonial face appears in a procession. We feel it when a veiled bride enters a church and the unveiling marks a threshold. We feel it when a bishop's vesture changes the man's public body into an office. We feel it when the dead are prepared with solemn care, the face either shown for farewell or covered for final dignity. These practices are not all masks in the strict sense, yet they share the mask's central insight. The face is too powerful to be treated casually at moments of passage. At the threshold, the face must change. Birth, initiation, marriage, kingship, priesthood, death. Each asks the human face to bear more than individual mood. Sacred form enters because ordinary appearance cannot carry the meaning alone. The mask before the face is the beginning of that grammar. There is also the matter of truth. Modern people often assume that the uncovered face is truthful and the mask is false. This is too simple. The bare face can lie, the masked face can reveal. A man without a mask may perform sincerity with the delicacy of a street magician stealing watches. A ritual mask may disclose the truth of his office, fear, or dependency. The question is not whether the face is covered. The question is what the covering serves. A sacred mask reveals by placing the individual under a form that exceeds him. A deceptive mask hides the individual so he can escape moral limits. The two acts may look similar from a distance. They are spiritually opposite. This distinction matters for the whole history of art and religion. Sacred form is not self-expression wearing nicer shoes. It is the surrender of the self to a higher pattern. The mask is sacred when the wearer becomes less private, less casual, less available to whim. He becomes a vessel. The mask's greatness lies in its severity. It says that the human person, as ordinarily seen, is not enough for every moment. There are times when the community must meet the ancestor, the animal, the judge, the deathly presence, or the sacred power. For such meetings, the familiar face must withdraw. This withdrawal is not a hatred of the human face. It is respect for the occasion. A face used for every moment becomes tired. It smiles at markets, argues over meals, squints at smoke, flinches from anger, softens at affection. The face is personal and precious. That is exactly why it must sometimes be covered. The rite requires a different order of presence. The mask protects the human by allowing the more than human to appear without devouring him. Think again of the hand lifting the mask. That gesture contains a whole theology of form. The object is made from the world. It is shaped by craft. It is kept apart. It is brought forth at the right hour. It covers the ordinary face. It changes the body. It changes the voice. It changes the watchers. A piece of matter becomes a gate. This is what sacred art does at its most basic level. It receives material and turns it toward presence. Stone, pigment, hide, wood, breath. The created world becomes the bearer of meaning. The mask does this with alarming directness because it uses the human face as its site. The wearer does not hold the sacred image at a distance. He becomes its support. The afterlife of the mask tells us why this form never fully disappears. Civilizations may refine it, condemn it, theatricalize it, museum case it, or turn it into festival. They may fear its power and regulate it. They may mock it as superstition, then reinvent it through cinema and digital identity, with all the solemnity of children finding matches in a hayloft. The mask returns because the human problem remains. We need forms that allow transformation. We need ways to mark the passage from one identity to another. We need faces for the dead. We need signs for offices. We need ritualized concealment so that presence can arrive without becoming ordinary. The mask is one of the oldest answers. It is also one of the most dangerous. The mask before the face reveals a central truth about sacred art. Sometimes the invisible appears only when the familiar disappears. The human face is wonderful. It is the place where recognition happens. It is where love first looks for proof that it is known. Yet the face is also limited. It belongs to one person, one mood, one passing hour. The mask enters when the moment asks for a larger face. In the firelight, the wearer steps forward. The body is human, the face is other. The watchers know the man beneath the covering, yet they also know that ordinary knowledge has been suspended. A door has opened in the visible world. Through it comes ancestor, animal, judgment, death, or sacred presence. The mask does not explain the mystery. It lends the mystery a face. Before civilization carved the god in stone, before the temple guarded the holy place, before theatre put tragedy under a painted brow, the human being learned to cover his own face and tremble at what appeared. That is the majesty of the mask. It hides man so that something greater may be seen.
Join us again for the grand vision.